Today, we are going to discuss an activity that has an applied developmental theory. The theory is the sociocultural theory of development, which includes the zone of proximal development. The activity is poetry to music. There is a handout with details of the lesson plan. Poetry to music supports physical, emotional, cognitive, and social development. It also supports Gardner's theories of multiple intelligences. We start off with an explanation of sociocultural theory. What is sociocultural theory? In the early 1900s, psychologist Lev Vygotsky proposed a child development theory called the sociocultural theory. He believed children learn best through activity and hands-on experience. In his view, learning was an inherently social process. He alleged that parents, caregivers, peers, and the culture the child spends time with are responsible for developing higher-order functions. In the 1930s, he included his theory on the zone of proximal development. Cherry, 2017. According to Niestrick 2012, psychologist Lev Vygotsky coined the term zone of proximal development, ZPD, in the 1930s to describe the sweet spot where instruction is most beneficial for each student, just beyond his or her current level of independent capability. The zone of proximal development, ZPD, and why it matters for early childhood learning. Scaffolding is used to help determine what a child can do independently and what they can do with assistance. As the child builds on their previous knowledge, the teacher starts out with close instruction. As the child's knowledge grows, the teacher can give less hands-on instructions until the child attains full abilities and the teacher is no longer required. According to Niestrick, 2012, students are most receptive to instruction within their ZPD because it represents the next logical step in their ongoing skill development. With constant feedback, or scaffolding, we know that students' learning and understanding can continue to develop at an appropriate pace. The zone of proximal development, ZPD, and why it matters for early childhood learning. Poetry to music is a hands-on activity with a surrounding lesson plan. Children can have a difficult time with poetry. According to Regis, 2013, students complain of feeling disconnected from the poetry they have encountered so far. A sense of disenfranchisement. Poetry is not theirs. It does not belong to them. Why do students fear poetry, and how can they access it better? One way to help students feel connected to poetry is an activity I call poetry to music. Most music heard on the radio, if you examine the lyrical setup, has the same basic construction as poetry. This activity uses sociocultural theory and multiple intelligences to make poetry and music fun and engaging. This activity is incorporated into a language art, music, and art lesson plan. Poetry to music uses what students already know about poetry and music and builds on that knowledge using scaffolding to create a music video of their own. Working with groups allows students who are more knowledgeable to help other members of their group. It is most related to sociocultural theory by being a group learning and creating activity. According to Cherry, 2017, through interacting with others, learning becomes integrated into an individual's understanding of the world. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. If you look at the handout, you will find a more detailed lesson plan. These 8 points are the outline of the activity. The activity is having students create a music video. They will do this by starting with reading poetry, then listening to music. They will build on their knowledge of rhyming patterns to create a group poem. They will then turn that poem into a song. Then, they will create artwork for an album cover. To tie everything together, the students will create a music video, including their song and artwork, and present it to the class. Learning about poetry and music helps develop cognitive skills, specifically rhyming patterns and similar and different aspects of both. This is also creative activity. According to Bergava, 2011, creativity plays an integral role in developing a child's physical, emotional, and cognitive development. Creativity includes a number of components such as imagination, originality, productivity, and problem solving, developing creativity in children. This activity gives students the ability to use all of these different components.
Created using Powtoon.